Bob Bradley has been getting his US team back into the swing of things here in South Africa, serenely really picking up where the nation left off last year. The runners-up, of course, in the Confederations Cup. They've been using the same training base at the Pilditch Stadium in Pretoria. This is Australia's training base, John, and they're not particularly happy with it.
Not at all. I actually talked to some of the players prior to the match, and they said it's not settling, it digs up quite a bit, and it's very narrow.
The officials are all from South Africa. Abdul Ibrahim is the man in charge. Australia were the first of the 31 visiting countries to arrive in South Africa, but somewhat surprisingly, they were the last to make public their chosen 23 players, most of whom are available today, but there are one or two fitness issues. Maybe that was the delay. As for the US, with Josie Altidore not available, we'll be looking at how they shape up front. But I think most importantly, how they're going to deal in defence with the threat from the Socceroos, particularly from Tim Cahill, a great goal scorer in England's Premier League. From a slightly withdrawn position, he's not an out-and-out striker, but he is, for a smallish man, exceptional in the air.
Yeah, he's very good in the air, strong, he anticipates very well, and he makes great runs out of that deep midfield position very late.
Well, away we go. Just a week away for the US from the first group game against England. Australia start against Germany a day later. Here's Luke Wiltshire for them. Richard Garcia. These two sets of players will know each other pretty well. A lot of them European-based. Robbie Findlay from the MLS has got pace and likes to run in behind and is making his first threat here, but is stopped by the vastly experienced Craig Moore, his 50th international appearance today. Whereas the US have made some changes, Australia have stuck with the same starting 11 that set them on their way to victory here on Tuesday against Denmark. Here's Moore. Huge amount of World Cup experience in the Australian lineup, like Lucas Neal, the captain, Bresciano, and now Chipperfield, all veterans of the finals in 2006. Of course, the US represented in that respect as well, but not quite as emphatically in the starting 11 as their opponents. Moore. There's a certain amount of mixed feelings, I think, for the players out there. They want to give a good account of themselves. There's a place in the group opener to play for, but also, John, we talked earlier about the injuries and a massive disappointment for a player to miss out on the tournament itself, having come this far.
Well, that's the thing, Martin, and you would think right here being the final warm-up games before they commence the initial World Cup games, and they want to settle on lineups and provide players with game minutes as well, but unfortunately with some of the injuries, especially to Josie Altidore throughout the week in training, it gives up open doors and opportunities to other players to step on the field, see what they can do.
Well, Edson Buddle is a late arrival on this particular scene. It's a great chance for him to show what he can do. And yeah, Robbie Findlay alongside him. And now it's time to take a look at who is primed to perform, fueled by Gatorade.
And when we speak of Robbie Findlay, everybody knows he's got the pace to get in behind. He's made the most of his opportunity against Turkey. You see a chance on goal here, but at the same thing with Findlay, he still now has to be more of a player that holds the ball and makes good decisions. That's a young player.
That's good pressure. And here's Buddle. And he scores with some power. Well, it's a late arrival on the scene. but he scored the very first US goal against Australia, and he's thumped it past Mark Schwarzer.
And it's an amazing goal, and it's something that he's been doing week in and week out with the LA Galaxy in Major League Soccer. And Edson Buttle gets an opportunity today. It's a mistake under pressure here, the giveaway in the midfield, and Edson Buttle just takes it on himself. And he sees the opening past Schwarzer, and he pings it in the up corner. Very well done. Again, that's Craig Moore, the experience he has in the giveaway. I'm sorry, it was Grella who actually gave the ball away in midfield. But the U.S. 1-0 up, Martin, very early in this match.
Well, the ball absolutely flying past Schwarzer, who's one of the goalkeepers who's been critical of this particular brand of football. This is the ball that's going to be used in the finals over the next 5 weeks, and it's very light. And if you hit it right, as Edson Buttle just did, you can see what happens. It wasn't too far away from Schwarzer, but it just flew in.
Well, again, Martin, you and I discussed this last night. Who hasn't complained about the ball and the pace of the ball?
I can tell you one person who hasn't complained, and that's Clint Dempsey, who's not really known for being a diplomat, so I suggest he likes it. And maybe because he's going to strike it a la Buttle.
Well, it's an excellent start for the U.S. and something that they needed. They seem to be coming off with the confidence from the Turkey match, especially in the second half, Martin. They did so well. They carried it straight away. It's a good pick off by Edson Buttle, and I love his nose for the goal.
Yeah, because Robbie Findlay was thinking, I'm going to be played in here, but Buttle, like a proper goal scorer, had his own ideas, single-minded, could say selfish if you like, but I mean that as a compliment. Look at the outcome.
And really, when you think of Buttle, Martin, he's more of a hold-up type of player that you need, and Findlay will be running off of him with the pace. So Edson strong, his energy, great start, getting the goal early. And a very unusual start, too, when we thought Josie Altidore would be on the field today.
Well, there's a chance from Donovan's free kick for more to follow here, but the flag is up for offside. Well, some players slave away for 4 years between World Cups to keep the coach impressed. Others just get the chance to, through circumstance, to come late on the scene, and you haven't heard the last of Edson Buttle.
Well, really, it was a gift, really, from Vincenzo Grella in the midfield, Martin, with all his experience, 44 caps, and he just kind of got caught, didn't have his head up. Edson Buttle made the most of his opportunity. That's what players are supposed to do.
Edson Buttle, whose 2 previous appearances for the US were 7 years apart, and now he has added himself to the list of international goal scorers for his country. And it's a real shock to Australia, who are based on a very solid defence. Certainly was really their strongest card in qualifying. But as you say, John, it was very loose play by Grella, who's on the ball here. And Australia, again, really culpable of maybe overplaying a bit in midfield. Neil. Out to Chipperfield, who's based in Switzerland. Wouldn't I rather be out there, I think is the message. He's seen his deputy deliver.
I'm sure for Josie Altidore, being a young player, he knows that he needs to prepare and do everything right, Martin, for the June 12th opener against England.
Yes, and of course his Haitian background takes us back to a period of time you know very well, John. The game of their lives, and 1950, and Joe Gaetjens, who scored the winner very improbably against England, of course also of Haitian stock.
Well, I think the US are hoping for a repeat, possibly, Martin, and they're also hoping that the media can get it right this time.
In terms of the Christian name.
Exactly.
Here's Donovan. Grella getting it away as he was fouled. Well, Clint Dempsey is starting on the left with Donovan on the right. They have the capacity to interchange. They would both be rather on the left, we understand, coming in on their stronger foot, but can only accommodate one. Kalina sweeping it wide.
If the one thing about the U.S. side, though, Martin, that we can talk about is the versatility of the players that Bob Bradley has selected. You know, he can constantly change, you know, and put Dempsey up front. He can play him in the midfield. Landon Donovan is very versatile.
Well, that's going to be a free kick to Australia. Shea Demerit is very much a player who sees what's in front of him and senses if he can get the ball. Didn't quite get this one right.
Well, the challenge comes against Richard Garcia, who shares, you know, his club level at Hull City, where Josie played. Garcia got lots of pace, doesn't he, Martin, up and down that wing. Still, in terms of being young and new to this setup with the national side.
Well, this will be a test for those in front of Tim Howard. Comes back for Bresciano. There's a deflection on it. And a corner has been given. Well, this is Josh Kennedy, who scored the winner against Denmark. Usually scores with his head. It was the first of 7 international goals he's actually got with another part of his body. It was his right foot.
Did he actually catch it cleanly, though, Martin, is the question.
Doesn't matter, it's a goal.
No, it's in the back of the net, right? Any striker will tell you.
And they deliver towards Kennedy here, but he didn't make contact. The Craig Moore up for hunting an equaliser. Here's Goodson. Now Michael Bradley. It's a real target is Buddle, and he angled off the header well. Helped out by Chirundolo, and Bradley again. Here's Finlay. And Chirundolo. Dempsey's in the middle, Donovan's in the middle. Oh, and it was awkward, and that's gone behind for a corner off Mark Schwarzer, who's absolutely rippling with experience, but that was a nervy moment, and you can't blame everything on the ball.
Well, it's funny, Martin, the angle that we were in, we could see the ball, and it does do a little bit of more movement as it releases from Chirundolo on the cross. We'll have to see how it responds to Landon Donovan taking this corner. Makes it more difficult for the keeper.
It's really just hung up to where Bradley got a contact. And let's go down to touchline level to our man Rob Stone. Rob.
Martin, right behind me, Josie Altidore. Great news on his right ankle injury front. Did partake in a bit of the warm-ups today. Nothing hard, no hard cutting, no hard running, no hard striking, some balancing, some soft jogging. Good news, though, is light practice tomorrow, day off on Monday. You do the math, Tuesday's the day they're focusing on for Josie Altidore. Oguchi Onyewu on Wednesday, head coach Bob Bradley said, I think you're going to see more minutes from Oguchi today. He's not starting, obviously. The reason, guys, they felt they've really been working him very hard since they arrived in South Africa. The plan, when you look 1 week away to England, they said, you know what, let's pull back a little bit today, give him his rest on Sunday and Monday, and let Oguchi finally prepare, hopefully, for England.
Well, that's the thing, you know, Martin, I did speak to him downstairs, and they pushed him very hard in training, Oguchi Onyewu. And they said they thought it would make sense to just kind of leave him out and hopefully give him some minutes second half. So we still might see Onyewu come on the field today.
Kept in by Chirundolo. It's quite a narrow playing area here compared to greater open spaces that they will have when the tournament begins. Challenged by Moore, stopping Finlay getting possession. We have got this match-up between the Fulham men. Schwarzer in goal for Australia. Dempsey trying to score past him, and at the other end it's the Everton connection between Tim Cahill of Australia and the US goalkeeper Tim Howard.
I spoke to Cahill before the match, and I asked him, if you do score against him, what kind of celebration are you going to do your normal punch in the... He said, no, I have something different in mind. It'll be interesting to see if that happens at all.
And he's just taking that loose position off the front as Bresciano, rather typical of the way Australia has started. There's been good pressing by the US, who of course are relatively recent arrivals in South Africa compared to Australia, and just saw the Australian players when they arrived, one or two of them looking stir crazy would be maybe too strong a point, but you know, you have to be very disciplined in being in camp prior to a tournament where if it goes well, you'll be away from home for another 3 or 4 weeks. And you've got to remember, these are human beings, not just robots. And there's no offside here, and Robbie Findlay is in on Schwarzer. He's round Schwarzer, and he's put it wide. Having done the hard part, it seemed, the goal was gaping. It should have been 2-0 to the US.
Well, it should have been, and he beats the offside trap. We'll have to maybe have a look at that again, because it's very close as this ball gets played in early. Well, it was tight. But again, the one-on-one with Schwarzer does well to come out big, but as he forces him, really, Finley doesn't get his hips around the ball. It's a shame, because he does everything right beforehand. Maybe that lack of experience, Martin, in that position.
Well, it could be costly, because 2-0 it might have been, 1-1 it might have been, particularly with Tim Cahill starting to get his radar.
Well, again, you know, you talk about the Socceroos, the Australian, where are the goals going to come from, Martin? And you mentioned Cahill. He has to be the one player who gets on it as much as possible, because in the qualifying, they only had 12 goals scored. You know, and that's a concern. They don't have the pace up front, but it does come from Cahill from midfield.
Bresciano, again, poor passing in their own half from Australia. Here's Grella. And trying to send Cahill into a threatening position again. Tim Howard off the back of yet another excellent season in England. We'll be, I'm sure, able to talk about England to Bob Bradley. As someone who knows a lot about both teams, hardly need to announce him, David Beckham, but alongside him you might not know Franco Baldini, who is Fabio Capello's main assistant, and obviously from the England camp a couple of hours away, they're doing their homework.
Well, as you said, David Beckham, he's very familiar with the players on the field, so his scouting today about Buttle would be that he took his opportunity well.
Here's Kalina. They've made better ground here with more control, the Socceroos, and again the angle ball looking for Josh Kennedy. Oh, and Howard to deal with a real bounce on the ball. Well, he's used to having the cameras on him. There's David, so disappointed not to be playing in the World Cup for what would have been a 4th time, that Achilles tendon injury. But very highly thought of by his England colleagues, and they're all very pleased that Fabio Capello decided to bring him as an ambassador, as anything really. David would turn his hand to anything for the team cause, you can be sure of that.
It was a very respectful gesture, and he's well liked everywhere he goes, David Beckham. AC Milan, LA Galaxy, you know, everything about him. He carries himself so well. It's been unfortunate that he couldn't compete in this World Cup.
Kalina. That's a nice take by Kennedy, who plays his club football in Japan. Chipperfield. Now Grella. On from Kalina. A little bit more encouraging from the Australian point of view. Again, the ball really flying through the air, going beyond Clarence Goodson, who thought he was going to have to head it. And it was way over his head, and it came off Jada Merritt behind for another Socceroo corner.
Again, you see the Australians getting a little bit more ground, as I said, Martin, it's because they're taking care of the ball a lot better. It's a narrow field, so the ball movement has to be quick. You're not going to get it wide.
It's 1-1, and Tim Cahill came in at the back post. He somehow, with a sixth sense, finds space wherever he is, whoever he plays against, and he scored past Tim Howard. And the celebration isn't over dramatic, nor from the Australian coach Pim Verbeek. Howard is always pretty critical when things go wrong around him. And it's 1-1, and that pressure you were talking about, John, has paid off from a set piece. Good reach by Cahill.
Yeah, he does well in the back post. You know, and as you said, we mentioned at the top, he anticipates so well, he reads the game well. And he always seems to be at the right place at the right time. He finds himself unmarked there at the back post. Perhaps Dempsey should be marking responsibilities, but the ball comes right through the danger area, Martin, through the 6-yard box, and it should have been dealt with. Should have been dealt with.
Well, we wondered, John, when we came here today, we're in the west side of Johannesburg, whether we'd see too much action in front of goal because of the sparring nature, maybe of the timing of the fixture. And here we've had a goal from the US, a real open goal miss from the US, and an Australia equaliser, and we're not yet 20 minutes gone.
Well, that's the thing, Martin. You know, you talk about opportunities. You got to make the most of them. And, you know, if Finley's goes in the back of the net, it's 2-0. But we know in the game, it happens so often that those things come back to haunt you. And on the other end of the field, a set piece, Cahill ends up scoring, make it 1-1.
There certainly have been goals in the recent US warm-up games. Often they've gone behind and come back, but now they've lost an early lead. Here's Wiltshire.
And it's so important for them to start the way they did today, carrying that confidence from their last friendly international against Turkey. And just a psychological approach. The US can't keep going behind early in the first half. So this is a very good start, even though they've conceded a goal early. They say we're on the score sheet.
Forward by Grella. Right, got away from Cahill in the first place, and he went to go and get it back. And the referee has given a free kick against Landon Donovan, who's somewhat surprised. Well, the Everton fans with divided loyalties here.
Yeah, you have to wonder if they're cheering for Landon Donovan. He did so well in that short stint, 3 months at Everton. They wanted him to stay. Back with the Galaxy now in MLS.
Well, that's a wasted opportunity. At least you'd be saying work the goalkeeper from Luke Wiltshire, who is a senior man when it comes to set pieces rather, and out of place with that attempt. Dempsey. Given to Bresciano though. Kennedy sent tumbling again, that up and atom approach from Jada Merritt. The point you referred to earlier, John, is such a valid one about Onyewu and whether he can get enough game time and training time to be thrust into the fray against England in a week's time.
Well, you know, he's got to be game fitness and ready, and we talked about, you know, the adjustments on the field. A player like Wayne Rooney or Peter Crouch, they're going to test you at the highest level. You need to be ready. I would have expected to see him today. And they're saying they worked him extremely hard throughout training and want to give him some minutes, so possibly second half.
Well, this is a problem. Demerit again has been penalised, and that was a marginal call. I think a bit of sympathy for him that time, but you do give away free kicks close to your own penalty area, and you do give a problem to your team, and the outcome of this is a corner. They've scored from a corner, and little things add up to big things when you deal with the game at this exalted level.
Well, that's exactly right. The details and the discipline that you need to have not to give away free kicks.
And Howard was going down, anticipating the need to make a save, which wasn't called of him in the end. The pressure's on again here. Franco Baldini will need 2 notebooks, I think, before he's finished. Don't forget that on Saturday the United States play the first game of the 2010 FIFA World Cup, and they do take on England. Coverage begins at 1:30 Eastern on ABC. Finley, Bradley, Buddle is the US goal scorer early in the piece here. The tide starting to turn a little bit away from Bob Bradley's men. But what they have done, with less possession of the ball over the last 10 minutes or so, they have looked threatening when they have had the ball, as Dempsey tries to make a run in behind.
Yeah, it needed to be a better ball from Landon Donovan, who found acres of space here unusually because it's such a tight field. And we saw, you know, Australia play against Denmark here on Tuesday. There wasn't a lot of space to move the ball either, Martin. So, again, staying with players, being tight, that's something you got to look at the U.S. side. And how they link up with the 2 forwards today that are young, that's something that Bob Bradley's going to have to assess and see how it works out this first half.
Mark Bresciano is just leaving Italian football after 11 years with various clubs to play in Saudi with Al Nassr. Grella. Cahill. Doesn't get many of his goals from long range. And some slick passing from the USA. Very good passing indeed. And Schwartz has just turned it round to stop Clint Dempsey adding to his tally of international goals.
Well, it was an excellent build-up, and it comes to the midfield, and the combination of passes are great. Early decisions being made, and watch Schwartzer, he gets a hand on this, but could Finley follow it up, anticipate a little bit more? It was a great save by Schwartzer, all the experience in the world. Remember him at Middlesbrough years ago. And of course,
I just
plays at Fulham.
Knowing his opponent as well as he did then, whether he guessed Dempsey's
of course,
direction and guessed right. In by Donovan.
There was just a missed chance there by Bradley. Made a good near-post run.
He was headed away by Cahill, but he might not have got it quite right. He's slow to come out here. Still a little bit dazed, Tim Cahill. Chirundolo. Back by Bocanegra. And Donovan, with only Finley to find in the middle. The flag staying down.
Again, it was an excellent ball, actually, switching the field from Carlos Bocanegra, the left back, into Landon Donovan, who's finding a lot more space here, Martin, in the last 8 to 10 minutes. So you would think that whether it be Bresciano or somebody going to take it on. And as you said, they know each other so well, the Fulham Schwartzer connection with Dempsey. It was a great save, just past the post.
It was a terrific save because his weight was going the other side, and he managed to readjust. A little bit more power from Dempsey, and it would have been the US back in front. That might happen in this attack, orchestrated by Landon Donovan. Backed up by Chirundolo. He's got great responsibilities within the squad. Takes on the armband from time to time. Here is the man who's wearing it today, Carlos Bocanegra. Demerit. Again,
You see the ball dance just a bit more again.
Yeah, the word Jabulani means rejoice in Zulu, but I don't think the goalkeepers are rejoicing. But it's not just the goalkeepers, it has to be said. And maybe it's more to do with the altitude that we're playing at as much as the design of the ball. I must say the same ball manufacturers made a fantastic football for the European Championships 2 years ago. So we must try and balance that up, because you are going to hear a lot more about this ball over the weeks ahead. Richard Garcia, who forced his way really into the final pick by Pim Verbeek with his showing against Denmark here on Tuesday. And there's plenty of room in a midfield vacated by the US momentarily for Kalina and then for Grella. Here's Wilkshire. Good handling by Howard. Sorry, John.
It's a bit better from Wilkshire. You talked about his set piece he had earlier. It was a wasted one, so he does like to push forward quite a bit down that side.
Here's Robbie Finlay. Moore got a foot in. Backed up by Chirundalo. Finlay making good ground and clipped by Jason Kalina.
That's what I'd like to see more of from Finlay, taking players one-on-one. He has that pace. And he lures him in, Kalina, and just baits him with the ball there.
Well, Donovan will take it. Buddle's an obvious target. Dempsey useful in the air. So is Bocanegra, who's scored plenty of goals for club and country. It's Grella who diverts it away. Not quite deep enough from Donovan that time. Here's Chirundalo. He's done well against Bresciano. And it must be 2-0. It's another for Buddle. But put on a plate by Steve Chirundalo with wonderful wide play. US back in front.
Well, it's all good because Ricardo Clark in the midfield switches the ball out wide to Steve Chirundalo, and he makes the most of it. And Edson Buddle, certainly the opportunist on the doorstep, seemed to be clearly unmarked, but it's a good run from Chirundalo with the one-on-one. Takes him down the wing, which you would love to see. Turn defenders. What a great ball across. And Edson Buddle, he's right there, unmarked. He gets in front of Wilkshire on the back post at number 8. And that's poor marking, but at the same side, the U.S. doing very well going forward to get back on the lead here, 2-1.
Well, wherever you go, whatever footage you see of the game played in bygone times, the principles are the same. Get wide, cross it, you score.
Yep. That's something the U.S. have got to keep an eye on when they open up against England June 12th, because the England side do well getting the ball wide with pace.
Cahill. Oh, it was a chance to reply in kind for Richard Garcia.
Well, it's end-to-end action here. Plenty of opportunities early on in this first half.
Here's Bradley. Now Bresciano. Kennedy. Australia looking to hit back a second time. Grella. Grella quick to back up the play. Bresciano, and that's a breakdown with Chipperfield. And Buddle, who certainly is the man of the moment. Here's Grella, who comes deep to collect it. Able to work it into Bresciano and Kennedy. Not danger cleared yet by the USA, and it should have been 2-2 really. The dangerous Josh Kennedy couldn't do what Edson Buddle did at the other end a couple of minutes ago.
Well, Josh Kennedy, 7 goals for his side, and scorer against Denmark last Tuesday in a friendly. He finds himself in the back post behind Demeret, who just really, you cannot take your eye off of any player at this level in the box. It's too dangerous. Wide open. Should have been a goal from Kennedy.
It's a very open and entertaining game at a stage where maybe the pressing for places is taking out some of the natural caution that players do feel just a few days before a tournament gets underway. And Kennedy, I think, is pretty sure of his place, unless Harry Kewell gets fit and they use Kewell, who of course is a very experienced, versatile player, can play through the middle. And, is challenging for that spot. Here's Kalina, carried away by Howard. Strong play by Lucas Neal, who's a hard man to shrug off the ball. Well, John, you did talk at the start about how this pitch might show as the game progressed, and you talked about it cutting up, being loose on top, and that's exactly what's happening.
It is, Martin, and I think that's probably goes into the thinking of like Bob Bradley, the manager, like saying, I don't want to risk playing Oguchi Onyewu on a surface like this because of, you know, the tendency to get injured quite again in a simple way of just cutting on the surface. And that's what Van der Beek keeps complaining about, the head coach of Australia, saying they don't want to train here anymore.
Kennedy went down, but really it was under his own momentum. Fighting work from Finlay, taken over by Dempsey, and then he's taken out.
Bad foul.
And again, it's not just a pitch that can provide an injury, but a challenge like that. And Dempsey and Craig Moore are at it, head to head. And Dempsey obviously saying something along the lines of, hang on, we've got a World Cup to play. What are you trying to do? And this tells you that we've got some very competitive individuals on the field. Talk about preparatory games, but when you're out there you want to win it, but you do want to survive it as well.
Well, you do, and I spoke to Lucas Neal before the match, and he said, you know, against Denmark, it was very amicable. We weren't going to go into those hard, heavy hitting challenges, and you've seen some of them already today between the US and Australia.
And the South African referee, Abdul Ibrahim, just having to lay down the law and show the yellow card. And I have to say, in the tournament, it would have been 2 red cards.
Yeah, I would think so. Here's the initial foul. You see Moore going for the ball late. And then he puts his hand up. But something happened. There was an altercation there. You see from Dempsey, frustration and more. So pushing and shoving out, you say, Martin, it's a red card at this level, especially in the World Cup tournament.
I think what happened, Moore apologised to the referee, he didn't really apologise to Dempsey, then had a little grab as Dempsey ran past him, and Dempsey said, look. And in Texas, they breed them tough.
You want to play with the horns, pal? You want to mess with the horns? You're going to mess with the bull.
Doesn't sound like a Texan when you speak to him, not what I was brought up to believe a Texan sounded like.
No, he's a rapper. He loves, he's a rapper, rap artist.
Well, it was rapping of a different kind. He was rapping his head into the face of Craig Moore for a moment. But it comes with the territory. Just got to make sure to pick up you can get a dismissal very cheaply at the start of a tournament, and the referees are out to impress as well. And they need to get that sort of stuff out of their systems. both countries here. Kalina trying to fire it through to Bresciano. It was a short pass, but it was a firm one over firm on maybe not a firm pitch.
Well, again, you look at the opportunity to play a young player like Finley. Did well in the second half against Turkey last week. But just, you know, the smaller details and the things he needs to add to his game as a young player. Just a technical aspect. Understanding where he needs to be on the field for the U.S. Again, he can open up the game, Martin, with loads of pace. And you're always looking for players that can change a game for you.
Tell me, John, you know Bob Bradley a lot better than I do. Do you ever know what he's thinking? And he's got the original poker face, hasn't he?
I think if you try to go inside of Bob Bradley's head, you get lost because he's overthinking. He thinks so much. He analyzes right down to. He's very thorough, Martin, to the greatest, smallest detail. So, again, he's probably thinking about halftime. You know, how he could make some adjustments in players who can come in.
That's a pretty good guesstimate from John Harkes on the expressionless US head coach. But detail, as we said earlier, is so important, and it's a compliment that you say that things about him.
Yeah. I could do an impersonation, Martin, but I don't want to throw you off the broadcast right now.
We'll save that for later.
Okay.
Here's Cahill, who has scored his 20th goal for Australia today. Tim Verbeek, an assistant coach for South Korea in 2002 under Husedink, in 2006 under Dick Advocat. It's his time in the sunshine now in that particular respect.
He's brought such a Dutch influence to the side, as well as Gus Hiddink back in 2006. Again, you'll remember Cahill getting on the score sheet as a sub in that match against Japan in the first game of the World Cup, scoring 2 that day.
He scored 2 as Australia scored 3 in the last 10 minutes, and it really changed the perspective of their tournament.
He did so well against Japan. Score late in the game as well.
I think what we've seen here in 40 minutes is, with the ball, the US have a fair amount to offer. Without the ball, it hasn't been quite so good.
That's true, and it's been a wide open game, Martin. And you know, there's been given on such a narrow field. There's been a lot of space given through the midfield, and that's one concern I think from the U.S. right now. Shutting that ball down early, like again here with Bresciano, he's getting more space to come inside. The number 23 from Australia, and you know, it makes it difficult for any back line to defend when players got time on the ball in the midfield. Well, again, the big picture has got to be, you know, trying to settle in a lineup, get players some minutes prior to the opening games of the World Cup, and again, not have any injuries, which we've seen so many of with Drogba and Ferdinand, and now Josie Altidore.
But Altidore's cloud has been the silver lining for Buddle.
I think he's done himself a lot of good today, getting 2 goals in this match. Edson Buddle. He got some time in the friendly against the Czech Republic weeks back.
Here's Chipperfield. Not so chipper, though, for Australia in this first half. And Bresciano seen out pretty easily by Landon Donovan. Just a reminder, the 2010 FIFA World Cup kicks off on Friday live from South Africa. ESPN's coverage begins at 9:30 a.m. Eastern as Mexico face the host country South Africa, and that's followed by Uruguay against France at 2 o'clock. And then on Saturday, the US takes on England. Hardly need to remind you about that. Coverage begins at 1:30 on ABC.
Looks like we got an injury down on the pitch.
So
in that challenge, that latest challenge there in the air.
Bang for Craig Moore here in challenging with Robbie Finlay.
Yeah, it looks like they butted heads just a bit there.
Well, that's a fair headbutt, that,
yeah.
compared to the Dempsey-Moore exchange a few minutes ago. It's a genuine challenge for possession to reach the goal kick from Howard.
Seems to be all right, Craig Moore. Finlay shaking it off.
Well, I'm sure somebody will tell me there have been plenty, but I can't remember a player whose first name was Edson since Edson as the first name of Pele's official birth name. It's quite a bracket to be in, isn't it?
Edson Arantes de Nascimento.
Yeah.
And, you know, Buttles made such a great opportunity for himself. You know, Martin scoring goals this year. And, well, he'd love to be like Pele, I'm sure, and score more in the World Cup.
Well, Pele would be pleased with the first half that Buttles given us here for the USA. In Rhodoport, which is famous for the nearby botanical gardens, the most renowned in the Johannesburg area, and for a good student population. There's a university here as well, and I'm sure some of those students are enjoying the action as the first half draws to a close.
Well, again, I think each of the students were handed a vuvuzela in the stadium, Martin. We can hear them all around us.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will be a minimum of 1 minute
One
added on.
Added minute before half-time. Chance for the USA to put it to good use. And the assistant suggesting that Kalina's not back the required distance. Quite entitled to do that. Whipped in by Donovan. And in the end, it fell for Dempsey. Couldn't keep it down.
Well, again, it was a great ball by Landon Donovan. And you see plenty of bodies in there as it falls down. Demerit, was that a handball? Might have been. But the ball that falls to Dempsey, we've seen him strike that on goal many times. I think a little bit off balance on that one.
Well, here we are at half-time, and what a half for Edson Buttle in particular. He's twice put the USA in the lead. Once that lead was cut back level again by Tim Cahill's equaliser. Mark Schwarzer, though, has had to pick the ball out of the net twice. Coming up at half-time, we'll head back to our studio with Bob Lee. He'll take us on a tour of the IBC in Johannesburg, and U2 will perform Boots with the Soweto Choir. And that's on the back of a spiky at times first half here, in which, in Australia's home patch as far as the preparation is concerned, USA have a lead to take into the dressing rooms. They lead by 2-1.